We all love the sound of money, and a $1,500 sign-on bonus sounds even better. That's right, Belicio Foods of Jackson is offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus to new employees. Receive an extra $100 your first 6 weeks, then $400 after day 90, and $500 after day 180. Don't wait. Apply online at beliciofoods.com/careers today. That's beliciofoods.com/careers. Come work for a company who truly values their employees. Come work for Belicio Foods.
Well, happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the morning show right here on Main Street TV. And of course, Jennifer here to start off your morning with a local celebrity in the house.
Oh, stop. You're too sweet.
No, Miss Olivia Kennedy is here. We're so happy to have you here because you are going to, I can't believe that we got her to take time out of her busy schedule to come here and see us because you have a ginormous weekend coming up. And all Olivia has done this week is, graduate as a valedictorian from Jackson High School, win the districts in the 400, and qualified to go to the state track meet. So this is like one of my favorite pictures because I want to get right to it. There is Olivia in the districts, and you are somewhere about 3 miles ahead of everybody else. Did you know that at the time?
I would not really, just run as hard as I could.
Yeah?
That's what you do, just running through the line. But
So you're not knowing that no one's even close to you?
well, they were a pretty good push. Definitely around the corner and stuff. But yeah, crossing that line, it was pretty nice.
I'll bet. So, all right. So, and there you are on the podium. So where is this picture taken?
This was regionals, and this was at
regionals. Did I say district? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. This was at Chillicothe. Thankfully, that was awesome that they had region at Chillicothe.
No doubt.
Yeah,
not
short
so
drive.
far.
Yeah, that was after the 400.
Very good. All right. So, Olivia, you were here on the show, I think, last year.
Yes.
Because you had qualified for the state last year as well. And so it's always so fun to see you. Do you, what do you think is going to be the difference between the state this year and as it was last year?
Right.
Besides the COVID madness and all that, we had still dealing with all that last year.
Well, it's just as exciting.
Yeah.
Everybody's super amped, and the atmosphere is a little bit different because this year we're at Jesse Owens Stadium at Ohio State.
At Ohio State.
Yeah, that's exciting. I've never ran there before, so that's going to be awesome. But I run at 3 on Friday, and it'll just be the same 400 meters. That's what I keep telling myself, so.
Yeah, it's just geography as to where you're running it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Jackson or so now what all happens? Is there like a race tomorrow and then a race Saturday, or is there just one race? Like, do you have to qualify to get into the race, or how's that work?
Sure, yes. So tomorrow is the qualifiers. That's the semifinals. And then out of those 2 heats, what they do is they take the top 2 out of each heat and then the next fastest times to fill a final race. So those finals are Saturday, and that'll be 1 heat, 1 race.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No pressure or anything.
Right. Yeah, it's exciting though, for sure.
And obviously we're so proud of you. Our local kids have done so well, and it's so nice when I was growing up, we were just Appalachians from Hillbillyville, and you just didn't hear of kids going to Ivy League schools and doing all these amazing things. And here you girls are and boys doing all these great things, and we're so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys are so supportive. Thank you so much for having me on, and the support from the community has just been amazing.
Yeah, I see your name a little bit through town.
Right.
That's exciting.
Brown Brothers Leaving Oil on the filling station, just so many businesses just kept me in their heart. It's awesome.
That's right. And that has to mean something to you, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
I would think so.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. The 400 is arguably the hardest race in track and field because a lot of people don't understand this, but so 400 is 1 lap around the track. And if you've never been around the track, it gets a lot longer as you go.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
It doesn't look all that long, and it is. So, but that would be what, a quarter of a mile?
Yep.
And so the 400, though, even like when I was in junior high track, I mean, you didn't full out sprint it, and you all full out sprint an entire lap around the track.
Yes.
How on earth do you get yourself ready to do something like that?
Oh, well, God's grace. He's definitely got his hand on me. 'Cause that is, it's a long way to sprint. But
Yes, it is.
it takes a lot of work in the off season, of course, and a lot of practicing, a lot of lifting, and then it all just comes together. You just got to trust in your training.
And how do you train? Do you literally, this might be a stupid question, like, do you get on Google and say, how do I train for the 400? Do you have great coaches? All of the above? Like, how do you know what to eat and how much to run and how much to lift and all that?
Right. Well, it's definitely took some learning. I've been in it for a few years now, and thankfully I've gathered a couple tips and how to run things, but I do have great coaches, and I have great parents that always are cooking what I asked to cook or whatever the day before a meet, or making sure, hey, grab this water before you go. So, everybody's just there just to really, support me as much as they can. And it just takes a lot of that. Yeah, absolutely.
It does take a village, and people don't understand that either.
Right.
Because, like, I'm sure your mom's like, I don't really feel like cooking beets and Brussels sprouts tonight, but I guess that's what Olivia needs. Her body's wanting tonight, so that's what we're going to eat.
Right. Yeah, a lot of pastas lately, but it's they're great.
See, the rest of us don't get to eat carbs, and you work them all off, so you need to fuel your body.
Yeah, lately that's what I've been telling myself with the cupcakes and graduation cookies.
Yeah.
That's what I've been telling myself.
It's just
some
carbs. It's
yeah.
just energy.
Yeah.
My body needs this sugar to run.
Sure, that's what I've been saying, so.
That would be hard to, I'm sure a lot of people are bringing you all kind of, all of those treats. And you're like, well, I really should not eat them, but I want to.
Yeah, maybe just a nibble.
Well, very good. And not only is she obviously a very talented runner, but and I cannot let you go without saying this, valedictorian of your class. And, at the end of the day, the girl's got brains on top of her God-given talent and work ethic, and we got to give you credit for that too.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
I don't think that there's very few people in the world that get to where you are, either academically or, sports related, without a good work ethic. So what would you say to the kids that might be watching today that are coming up and say, man, I want to be Olivia someday?
Well, I would just say, just keep buying into yourself. It takes work, and I know everybody that I've seen coming up, man, they got a great work ethic and just a great will to win. So just keep nurturing that for yourself, because, man, it pays off. It's just a wonderful journey whenever you can, set your hat down and say, I did what I could do. I put in the work. So
yeah, and I did my best.
Right. So I just I would just encourage that. Yeah, just trust in yourself. Put in that work.
Very good. See, kids, it's just because you're from little old Jackson, Ohio, doesn't mean you can't do great things.
Yeah,
that's silly.
That's even better. It's even better.
Yeah,
than
just
Jackson.
Shove it to somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so what will your next 2 days look like? Because you're getting ready to go run in the state tournament. Like, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So what will you be doing?
Well, a lot of praying. A lot of praying for sure.
Don't step in any holes or anything, okay?
Yeah. Careful steps. But Fridays are prelims, and they're opening the track today, so we might check that out for a second.
That seems like a good idea, just to go up and get the lay of the land,
sure.
even if you're not, running or whatever.
Yeah, that's what we figured. And
good idea.
Yeah, short little thing, but then get focused up for Friday, and hopefully, we'll make that thing to Saturday, and it should be fun. Yeah.
That's right. And not only has Olivia made it to the state, but, darn it, you broke your own record.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, regional finals, that was awesome. Which we didn't have prelims at regional, so we just had like one shot to break that thing at region at Chillicothe, and that's a good feeling. So
yeah, and how how do you better yourself? Like, how do you think, okay, I typically run this race in X amount of seconds. What is it, 57?
Yeah,
Around
that was
57?
sure.
So how do you say, okay, I'm going to get to 56 or I'm going to get to 54? How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, it takes a good mental toughness. You got to just keep telling yourself push, push, push along the way. But it also takes great competition. Having people around the track chasing you down or in front of you. That really gets your legs moving. So
I would say if there's somebody hot on your heels, you're going to
Yeah.
run even faster, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Well, very good. And okay, well, Olivia, we'll let you get out of here because I know that you have other things to do than to chat with us all day. But we just wanted to have you in and tell you how proud we are of you. And you are just amazing and such a good role model for, our youth coming up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. Now, I have a couple of other things. We do have some other special guests here
Yes.
that will be on our program in just a moment. And that is, of course, Cher and Michelle Black. And we're going to be talking about a camp that they will be holding in honor of their daughter and sister. But you actually, strangely enough that you're here, attended the camp last year.
Yes.
And that it's more of a cross-country camp. And a lot of people don't know this, but Olivia runs all kind of races. So
Yeah.
you do all kind of stuff. But can you tell us about your experiences of the camp before we let you get out of here and the girls come over to talk about it and help promote it?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I couldn't encourage it enough for the youth. What they're doing is great. They're just doing great stuff. They're advocating not only just for cross country, but just your life, checking in on you, making sure you're well, and at the same time, getting you geared up for a good fall. So I couldn't recommend it more. It's really a beautiful thing that they're doing.
It is. You're right. And, as a student athlete and a student, it does get hard on you guys and kids. And, your senior year's tough and you have to, you're expected to make all these grown up decisions.
Right.
And you're just a kid, and you think back about it. So, mental health does come into this. So I'm glad that that's part of the camp as well, is to make sure that you're all right, like you said.
Yes, they do a great job. So.
Very good. Well, I just want to get your 2 cents in there because I know that you had attended the camp and, obviously Olivia's done quite well. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, get out of here and go get yourself ready to do great things this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right. Well, let's do the weather and then we'll switch places with everybody. Thanks, Olivia. And come on over, girls. Yeah, come on over, and somebody has to bring their own chair, but that's okay. So we will go over the weather because I know a lot of people are wondering what's going on during the weekend or coming up this weekend. So, someone just kind of come over to the middle there, and then, yep, and then straddle the pole. Oh. Yeah, we pole dance around here. So today, actually, the temperatures are getting to be fantastic this weekend. As far as I'm concerned, if you love the hot weather, it's not so much. But some rain in the forecast today, which we totally can use, with highs today in the mid-70s, lows around 54. For tomorrow on Friday and Saturday, just look at that. Sunshine in the forecast and highs in the mid to upper 70s. Then Sunday, little bit of clouds, but highs again only of 83 degrees. So it's looking absolutely fantastic for the next couple of next few days, and we will take it. All right, so we have found some other great girls to be on the show this morning, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of course. And we were talking with Olivia just now, and Olivia obviously has done quite well as a runner. But you guys are here to talk about a camp that is coming up, and it's in honor of your daughter, Elyse, and your sister, Elyse. So can you girls tell us a little bit about that? And if you'd like to tell about Elyse, too, we would love that.
Yeah. So,
and this is Michelle and Cher, by the way, is Black. I'm sorry. I should have introduced you.
Yeah. So the camp is taking place June 13th through the 17th. It'll go from 8 a.m. in the morning to 2 p.m. And it's at the Jackson City School track on Tropic Street.
Oh, so close by.
Yes, very, very close.
Great.
And it's kind of a mixture of training, as well as there are some speakers as well, to kind of talk about a lot of top topics that we think affect student athletes, and kind of preparing them to think about how to kind of not only take care of your body but your mind as well.
Good.
So yeah, it's open to any student athlete, grade 6 through 12, and I actually have a link for students to sign up. If maybe we can put that in the comments.
Yeah,
after.
James will be.
So,
He's really good at whipping that stuff up. So
well, awesome. Yeah.
Don't say it too fast.
yeah. So can you tell him what the link or where to find it, and then he can put it up on the
Yes.
thing for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I will. I have it. It's on my Facebook now, so maybe I can just send it after, if that's okay.
Okay. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And can you kind of backstory, and without getting all emotional, we're all going to get emotional, and that's totally fine. Your daughter Elyse was quite a student athlete here in Jackson as well. Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, so my daughter Elyse, she I think it was probably when we were still in Chillicothe, so Chillicothe High School.
Yeah. So she was a freshman, I think, in high school.
When you moved here, or
When she started to really get into kind of the running thing. Yeah.
man, she was like Forrest Gump. Man, you just couldn't stop her. She was just
Well, at first she struggled. Like at first she, she tried tennis, she tried basketball. I think she made one basket the whole.
well, that's one more than I could make. So.
Yeah. But then she found her niche, and it was running, and she liked, she was a distance runner, and she, she said it just helped her with a lot of the chaotic feelings. Like, she was just having a lot of chaotic feelings and emotions she was trying to deal with. And running was just a great outlet for her.
Love that.
And she just kind of sunk her teeth into it and just went with it. And we moved to Jackson in 2013.
Yeah, so it was my sophomore year of high school, and it was her junior year.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And, Jackson just really welcomed my daughters. They just embraced them. And,
well, they're easy to welcome.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So she really, I think she had her best, time of her life here, running, and her just, making friends. And it was just wonderful. And then, she got a scholarship to Northern Kentucky University. And
Same as Olivia.
Yeah,
that's
where
so
she's going,
exciting.
so.
yeah.
Both from Jackson, so that's crazy, So
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? That's so wild that you all were here together at the same time. It's like fate or something.
yeah.
Yeah. And so my daughter and I, Michelle, we're just trying to, get the word out. This cross country camp is being put on it was started by a friend of Elise's. So, it's like testament to what a good friend Elyse was to Brandy Sickler, and also what a good person, Brandy is to honor Elyse in this way. So
Yes, absolutely. Now, can you tell everyone a little bit, I know you touched on it, but could you tell everyone a little bit more about what the camp will entail and who would be a great candidate to come?
Yeah, so really any athlete. I know it says cross country on the name, but really any student athlete is welcome to come. I know last year we had a lot of great speakers come in, kind of touched on eating disorders, which can become a big thing with student athletes. We had some speakers come in that talked about like body image and loving yourself, and kind of appreciating the things about yourself that aren't physical, like your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
So I think we're hoping to have a lot of some of the similar things as well as talk about Elyse and explain kind of like the backstory of everything. So I think that's kind of what we're thinking about doing. I also know we're trying to get some yoga as well involved in it, which I think
Love
is
that.
great as well to kind of decompress as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're thinking it'll look like.
Okay. And there's so much out there, as I was just, sitting there talking to Olivia, and I was putting myself back into what it was like to be not only a high school graduate but a college graduate, and the pressure that's put on you, and then like going into your freshman year in college even is a bit tough. And but I think about, like I said to Olivia, these kids that they are so forced, your junior year in high school, you're forced to make a decision on what you're going to do that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And that's enough to set anyone over the edge, and so I love the fact that you all are doing these camps and helping, as Olivia said, putting people out there that are checking on you and making sure that your mind is good and straight, because it's a lot, and it's getting worse. I'm Are you still in college? Did you?
I just graduated.
Oh, well,
Yes,
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, I just got I graduated with my master's in April. So I'm done with school forever. So, yeah.
So what are your future plans, Michelle?
I'm actually moving to the DC area.
Okay.
I'm going to work in ESG work, which is environmental, social and governance work. So kind of helping companies be more environmentally friendly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And Cher here is, you're an attorney by
Yeah.
trade. Are you still practicing?
No.
Okay.
No. After Elyse died, I kind of felt, like I wanted to look at prevention, like, how things like this could be prevented. So I'm now a suicidologist. I finished my training. So,
Yes,
yeah.
and we are, strangely enough, so we're going to get into that. You might not know that, but we're going to get into that because that's a thing. How many kids, you were in school not too long ago. How many kids did you meet, or did you meet anyone that you were really worried about, or that you thought, man, this camp could have helped them, or man, there's something, they need support and they don't know where to turn?
Yeah. I mean, not personally, which, thank goodness.
Sure.
But I feel like once it happens to you, it's kind of like you see it everywhere. It
Yes.
seems like you hear about an athlete, passing away every other day, from this sort of thing. And I think a lot of the reason is because I think there's some shame and some taboo associated with kind of the mental health realm, especially when
Yes.
you're young, when you're 15, 16, you might not have the tools to identify, is this feeling normal, or when should I seek more help? Because I do think that, anxiety, sadness are all normal feelings to have. It's just when they kind of tip to a point when you might need to kind of seek out additional help as well. So which I think is what the camp's trying to do, is to kind of create this safe space for these things to be shared, to kind of facilitate some dialogue, to kind of give kids skills early, so they can check in on themselves and say, okay, when is this becoming a problem that I can't handle, and I need to seek out my coach or my parents or something like that.
And with COVID, I think that if anything good has come out of COVID, mental health seems to be a topic that people aren't as ashamed to mention now. But yeah, I mean, I will say that I went through the same thing in college, and you are ashamed. You're like, why can't I get my stuff together? Like, what is wrong with me? And it would be so nice to know that there are people out there. Or like in my personal experience. I was having horrific panic attacks, but I didn't know what it was. I thought I was dying. I just thought I was dying. Like I didn't know, and went to doctors and they were just like, oh, you're just stressed out. But no one just looked at me and said, that's a panic attack. Like that's what's happening to you. Not one doctor said that. And I'm like, what? I finally found a pamphlet at school. I'm like, why am I diagnosing myself?
Yeah.
So it's great that you guys are doing what you're doing because you feel like you're crazy.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that way too. I mean, I feel like, because I mean, I struggle with anxiety as well. I'm the same way as you.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and you think, there's something wrong with me. I don't see anybody else struggling with this. But
or talking about it.
Yeah, so you feel like I'm alone in this feeling, like, I'm, there's something wrong with me because I'm so anxious all the time. I'm nervous about everything. But I think just, I think we're becoming a more kinder, place to where we can talk about these things. Say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I think this anxiety is, it's too much for me to handle. I should go see somebody, So I'm all for therapy, even if you don't think you need it. I still think that there's great tools that you can learn there as well. So.
Yeah, and I love that you say that. And this camp would probably be a perfect place to start. Because like you said, how do you know whether you're just nervous about a test or this is something that, or just nervous about like your future? Like there's one thing to just have anxiety about, I'm not sure, fear of the unknown, but then there's a whole other realm of like it becoming debilitating. So, well, okay. So what's your favorite story about Elyse?
I never seem to got this running gene. I'm the least athletic person in our family. So, bless her heart, when she first started really getting into running, she would, want me to run with her. And I mean, bless her heart, would just go very, very slow. And I know she was just ready to just take off. But she would be like, Michelle, after a while, it feels great to run. I'm like, I felt worse after I ran.
Yeah, like this whole runner's high thing, I've never experienced.
I haven't either. So, she wanted me to run with her so bad. I would try, because, I'm the little sister. So I would be like, okay, I'll
my big
give it a
sister's
try.
doing it.
Yeah. But, at some point you realize your talents are elsewhere. So, I don't want to, hold her back anymore. So, yeah. So that was my kind of dabble with running, kind of facilitated by Elyse. She was always so sweet whenever I would run, but it's just not my thing. I never seem to got that gene. So I don't know if she has it, but I definitely don't. So
yeah, I'll just kind of chime in on that. So when they first took it up, I know I went to pick them up after the first practice, and they could barely walk, and they were like just like dragging their bodies. Do you remember? And
this was in Chilla Coffee.
Yeah. This is before we moved here, and I was like, oh, this will probably be the end of this, And but Elyse just kept going and going, and I think you decided just what you said. It was not for you.
I think I would have decided the same thing that you decided for sure.
Yeah. And, along the same line, it's like athletics are great. They're a great outlet. It's just when you do that thing you're talking about where you're like your mind starts doing stuff, and you don't know if you're normal or not, and when to push, when to not push. I mean, all these things kind of come from experience, I think. And, we're talking about young people here. This camp's for grades 6 through 12 or something. So it's just great to start getting them, at least open to the idea that, there is help. You don't have to do this alone. I mean, people care about you, things like that. So
sure, absolutely. And, and just that feeling of, am I normal? Are these normal feelings? Or am I like a freak of nature? Or is everyone going to point and giggle at me? Or, whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right. So good Elyse story. Tell us.
Oh.
As her mother, there's a million.
Yeah, there's a million. But I don't know which one to. Oh, there's just so many. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the viewers know how Elyse died. I mean, I'm assuming that they could probably guess, from the
Well, and I think we need to tell her story. And it's hard, and we'll probably all cry, but it's okay, and we need to tell her story so that people understand why this camp is important and why her life is important.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, my daughter and I talked, like, there's still a bit of a stigma with, suicide, and but that happens, and that's how Elyse left me. But my last story, we went to Myrtle Beach, and we were walking on the beach, the three of us, just like picking up trash, and it just seemed like so normal, and like everything was normal.
Yeah.
And then like within it's like 5 days, she was gone.
She's gone. Yeah.
So it's just
well, and when you hear the news, and I know as a family, I can't even imagine living that, but when I heard the news, I immediately said what everyone else said. Why on earth? Elyse had everything going for her. She was a beautiful girl, very smart, very talented, had a, scholarship to college, like had everything in the world going for her. Why on earth would she choose this? And, and I think that you've been doing some studying to kind of come up with reasons why. I mean, because it's someone that's not suicidal is looking from the outside in and saying, I don't understand this.
Right. So yeah, that's the whole reason I went to study this this education I've been getting, and
what's it called again? I'm sorry.
It's the branch is called suicidology, and I've been certified to do psychological autopsy investigations. And the whole point of those is to answer the why questions that you're just that you're putting out there. Which, I mean, I had tons of those. So it was like, why now? Why this way? I mean, so the whole point of the training is to just individually, one by one, look at a life and just kind of see, like, get into the mind of the person who died by suicide, and kind of, answer these why questions. And the greater goal is, of course, prevention, because, as we start to learn, like, why individuals do this, we can kind of extrapolate into, like, bigger themes about maybe, what are the signs, how to get in there, if you do see the signs, how to prevention, things like that. But yeah,
I think a lot of it too for I think the value in it is, like, it kind of gives closure to families as well if they don't really know. I mean, I feel like everyone's entitled to kind of know the truth about everything as well. So
100%.
I think that helps too. I think that's also some value in it too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, because that's always, I have to think that's the first question, why? Like, why would somebody that seemingly has this perfect life, and as you said, not too long ago, I feel like we've been on this rash of student athletes that have committed suicide, and, you hear about it on the news, and you're just like, wow. And again, while you hate that, I'm glad that some awareness is being made to it, because it can't be swept under the rug. It's happening for a reason.
Right. And you also made a good point where you're like, am I crazy? This kind of thing.
Yeah.
But suicidal ideation, or like thoughts of suicide, are actually very common. Like, as this happened to us, we'll be talking to people and we'll hear, like, yeah, I've had thoughts. So it's like very common. It's not like you're not crazy. It's just, you just go through times where those are like normal. A lot of people have those. It's just when, it's like less common are the actual attempts. And even more rare are the actual, completed suicides. And even though it's like a leading cause of death, it's still a very low, like, I think the CDC says there are 40,000 suicides per year.
Okay, would that be in the United States?
Yes, in the United States.
Okay.
But there's, 320 million people in the United States, so it's like
Sure.
a low baseline event. But so it's just us finding out, like, when the sort of like normal part. I mean, I'm not saying, like, I have no degrees or anything in science or mental health. It's just, just this course I've taken through the American Association of Suicidology.
Sure.
But it's like, okay, so suicidal thoughts are, it's not that they just don't kill you, so you can,
Okay.
But it's like as it goes and progresses is when it starts getting more and more dangerous, and what actually kills you is the lethal means. But you've got to have the momentum built up of going on down that path to where you get to the point where you're willing to take your own life.
Right. So like thinking about it and then actually going through the steps of and research of planning it and doing a lot of that stuff is that's a bit further down the road.
So I guess ideally you'd kind of want to stop the momentum going, I guess, so like let's say, it does cross, a line, I guess, there should be some checkpoints in place, I guess, to where you don't kind of keep going down this spiral into it. So,
That makes sense. You got to put a bump in the road somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Speed bump.
And people are so hard on themselves, aren't they?
Oh,
I mean, they just beat themselves up,
Yeah.
I'm not as good. And they can compare themselves to other people and think, everyone else has got it going on. And here's me with all this, all these things. I mean, I'm no good. I'm a loser. Look at me,
Yeah. And
that kind of stuff. So
one of my friends has this thing that he puts on Facebook probably once a month. And it just says, may your lives be something like, may your lives be as awesome as you portrayed it on Facebook or whatever. And, I know what he's saying. It's that. And with social media, I can't even imagine the gas that puts on a fire for people to feel inadequate. And I mean, I look at Facebook and I'm like, my God, they're perfect. Like,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't post anything because I suck. Like, I don't, nobody's interested in what I have to say.
Suck.
Thank you. But nobody cares what I have to say, like.
People care.
But see, that's good to know.
She's so supportive. But no, I definitely think you're right. I mean, especially, I think, my generation, we live our lives online, so I'll get on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram and be like, these people have everything that I'm lacking, I don't see what I have, so it's kind of like, realizing that, you only put your highlight reels online. You don't put the worst parts, right?
Yeah,
so
like I have stinky feet or whatever. Like
right. So so that's only one part that you're seeing of someone, too. So I think just I'm sure the talk of social media on mental health is like a whole other thing, in itself too.
My gosh, I can't even believe. And and you think about it though, and I'm sure that if you made one post today, there would be 10 people out there saying, "Man, I wish I was her." Like, that's so cool that she's doing X, Y, or Z. So
yeah, that comparing yourself to other people it's just not healthy.
Yeah.
What is that quote? Comparison is like the thief of joy or something like that.
It's true.
Yeah.
So true. Like we're all awesome in different ways. Like we should celebrate that.
Right.
And so it's great with the camp. I mean, sure, you want to be competitive, you want to be your best, you want to compete against yourself, right? I want to keep you, like breaking your records, like Olivia was talking about.
Right. You always want to one up yourself, if nothing else.
Right. So so hopefully the camp will, allow that competitiveness to be, but kind of balance it with kind of some mental health stuff and some kind of, camaraderie and anyway. So.
Wouldn't that be good just if kids were just, needing support of other kids? I mean, if nothing else, that's enough.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm here with my peers and we're all in this together.
Yeah, exactly. Because we are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I know when I was, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that's really who obviously I had my mom too, but when you're young, your friends are such like a large influence on you as well. So I feel like having that, having a healthy supportive peers, also helps kind of with that as well. So
yeah, totally agree with that. And that's good peer pressure, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's delve into a little bit about, your study and what would it be used for? What would be the benefits of the things that you have learned? And what have you learned since Elyse passed that you're just like, oh wow, I can't believe maybe that I missed that, or I wish I had known that. Not like beating yourself up, just, what are some of the things that people could look for?
Elise was very good about keeping everything inside. And so, and she always put on this really pretty smile. So, you just never knew what was going on, beneath the surface there. And I think one of the lessons is you really don't know. Someone could be really struggling, like my own daughter's really struggling, and she's not letting me in.
Yep.
And so.
Aw.
Oh,
You found her. Thanks, James. See, I told you he's good at that
He is
stuff.
good. Yeah.
Yep, that's so her.
Yep, that's her in her Northern Kentucky uniform. So see, she would do that to me.
She
like
looked like that all the time, like
Pretty much.
even a bigger smile than that.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Say, how are you doing? Fine, mommy. But she just never really let you in. And it wasn't until after she'd already passed that we started reading some of her writings. Like she even wrote me a note detailing, how much she hated herself.
Wow.
And it's like, what? I adore you. What?
Right, you're perfect.
Right.
Like, shush.
Right. So it's like, it's the mental, it's the mind. Like her mind was like she bullied herself. She was just constantly beating herself up. Like, your mom's wasting money on you. You don't deserve anything. I mean, I don't know.
Wow.
This is like truly a corrosive way of thinking that I had no idea was even
That it
beneath this.
existed.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you get someone to open up? And so that's what I would do. I would try to find ways to say, no, how are you really doing? I don't want you just to like make me feel better, just,
Sure.
Not be a burden, because she always worried about being a burden, So like, how are you really doing,
Yeah.
And, if she could just tell me, I hate myself, Mom. Well, first I'd probably just, like burst out in tears because it's so, I can't even wrap my mind.
How can you fathom that? Because everyone loves her, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's like she was always trying to lift everyone else up, but yet she herself was like, come to find out, was always in the like pretty low, feeling bad. So, my lesson is, don't just take the first answer.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of dig more. If if you're close to them, just kind of like, okay, I know you're wanting to do your best and stuff, but tell me how you're really doing, something like that. And I think
That makes sense. And as a sister, you guys were close, very close.
Yes.
And what would you say to people? I mean, when do they need to start digging, or maybe say something?
I think when it becomes kind of a repetitive thing. I mean, I'm no expert as well. This is just stuff I've learned through my own therapy and things I've read as well.
Yeah.
When it starts becoming kind of like the hamster on the wheel, like you just can't seem to break, like the train of thought. I think is probably when it might be best for you to kind of seek help. But other than that, I mean, I think really it's just being aware of yourself and like how you're feeling too, So, but yeah, I'm not sure if your training really taught. I mean, if anything else that they've taught for yourself, like how do you,
Right. So my training pretty much, like the psychological autopsy is pretty much, if you suspect it's a suicide, you kind of want to come in and like talk to the loved ones, the people who knew the person the best.
Okay.
And just kind of get into their head, like what were they going through? What were their struggles? You look at, records, whatever records you can find, their writings, their Facebook, like things like that, just to kind of get in there and see what was really going on. But there is an aspect of prevention in that having a suicide of someone close to you increases your own risk of suicide. So that's an increase. Like Michelle's and my risk factor for suicide went up after Elyse did that because you miss them and you just want to see them, you just want to be with them, or you're down because of what you've been through. So it does increase the risk. So part of the training is that if you are talking, like if I were talking to Michelle about Elyse, and I just started noticing that she's maybe sort of in a fragile state, I would be like, what can I do for you? And try to get her, because I'm not a medical mental health provider.
Right.
But I do care, and I would say, what can I help you find some? Do you need to talk? I mean, I don't want to intrude, but I care, and what can I do for you? And so that's the element of prevention. And then at the end, all of the data that they get, the scientists at the American Association of Suicidology are going to AI is going to be very helpful in terms of, making things that people say, like, is this a red flag? Is this a real red flag? Or is this just someone who's crying for help, which is important,
Okay.
but they might be different. Like someone may just want help, where I think Elyse, she didn't want help. She was just like done, So
Yeah.
So anyway, I know I'm saying a lot, but there's
No,
there's a
I think
lot
it's
here, but
fantastic.
yeah, so there is an element of prevention to what I'm doing, but a lot of what I'm doing is like getting inside of the head of Elyse. Like if I were doing one on her, and my assignment was Kurt Cobain, so I did a psychological autopsy on Kurt Cobain.
Okay, and when we're saying autopsy, that's not meaning like you're got the scalpel and you're
yeah.
analyzing their thoughts and
Right.
what got them to that point.
Right.
Okay, so Kurt Cobain. Now,
Yeah.
I got to know
Yeah.
that there had to be a lot of complexity there.
Yes.
I'm sure there's. I mean, I've read so many like conspiracy theories about that too. So I'm sure that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah,
too,
right.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's an interesting thing about that because that was given to me as a suicide. Like this is a suicide. We want you to get into Kurt Cobain's head through, and obviously I can't talk to Courtney Love, his wife,
Right.
or Frances Bean Cobain, his daughter. I mean, they're not going to talk to me. I did actually try to talk to some people, but it's been like 20 plus years, and no one returned my calls or my emails or anything. So
Okay.
I had to do this one there's just a lot on the internet about it. There's some books that have been written about it, and there's the death certificates online and a lot of things. So I'm just like looking at documents. I couldn't talk to people, but I'm looking at statements they've made and things like that.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is just because something looks like a suicide and just because something's, had suicidal ideation and maybe an attempt, there's like this Rome suicide attempt perhaps, I don't know if that was or not, where he took an overdose of pills. I don't know if you're familiar with Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess that was going to be my question too. When someone overdoses, which unfortunately we have quite a bit around here, is that a suicide? Were they trying? How do you know whether someone overdosed and they were trying, or overdosed because they just had bad judgment that day, or took something they shouldn't have? And I would say that would have been in Kurt Cobain's case.
Well, actually, in Kurt Cobain, the findings that I had was that it was not a suicide.
Okay.
There was no evidence that
He just OD'd?
No.
What did he die from? I can't even remember.
Gunshot wound to the head.
Okay.
Yeah, through his mouth.
Okay. So you're thinking that it wasn't a suicide?
There's no evidence that Kurt Cobain pulled the trigger on that shotgun. Yeah. I'm serious.
She's spilling some hot tea here.
Oh, the tea got real hot real quick.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you really dig into that.
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't know that. How did I not know that? Probably because it was 20 some years ago now, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had enough heroin in him to render him unconscious within seconds. It was like, even for a seasoned user, it was like 3 times what So
that does sound fishy.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a guy called Cyril Wacht. He's a well-known forensic. What does he do? Like the forensic. He looks at after the person dies, like the forensic evidence that's there.
Okay.
And he's gone on record saying, no, this he couldn't have pulled the trigger because
he wouldn't have been physically able to.
He couldn't have rolled his sleeve back down, put away his drug kit, because it's a lot of times they overdose with the needle. Still in there. That's how quick this is.
Yeah, stuff happens just like that.
Right. And the other fact I was looking at was that the shotgun that was that was laying on him in an inverted position had no legible fingerprints on it anywhere. And if you would have pulled the trigger, you would have. So someone had to wipe it after. So.
That's weird. Ooh, you're right. Spilling the tea. Look at you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now they gave you that assignment because they knew what you were going to find. That it was going to be some crazy stuff,
Actually,
maybe.
some of my fellow students found it was a suicide. So I mean, there's
Oh.
but I'm just telling you why I arrived at my conclusion.
Sure.
Those were the two big.
That and your lawyer nature came out, I'll bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the only lawyer in my class.
I'm thinking like a lawyer too on all of this.
It's evidence, right? It's all about evidence. What's the
100%.
evidence show? So yeah.
That's right. So have you actually studied like I don't want to say real cases, that's not the right thing, but someone that isn't a celebrity. Have you been, maybe called in to analyze or have you done anything like that?
I'm wanting to. I really am. I just got certified recently, so
Okay.
And funding's always an issue because it takes time to talk to people. It takes time to look, to do this thing, So someone's going to have to, unless I can like volunteer all the time, which I can't,
Sure.
So I'm looking at like grant funding for like to get at least part of it paid. But I really do want to do this for families, and I know the local problem here with the drug overdoses versus maybe accidental.
Right.
There's a push in Ohio to kind of, discern which it was because it's important for record keeping. And it's just things that the family may or may not want to, like some family members would want to know, like you said, why? We want to know why.
Sure.
So if this was an accident, and you had asked earlier about like what you would do, well, from my perspective, I would talk to family members. Like if it was a family member of yours, I would say, well, tell me what your brother was going through, and just look at like in the past, did he like deviate from the amount he'd used in the past? Was it like extremely more?
Okay.
That would show me that, it's a little bit more intentional because, he knows how much he can handle.
Yeah, because
And
if
yet-
you're a seasoned
Then
drug user,
right?
then you know what you use.
Yeah. So you're pretty good at discerning like how much you can
Sure.
use. And if you like just shoot it up, well, this is not a science. It's kind of like an art and a science too, right? You're just
Yeah.
kind of like seeing what the evidence can show you and kind of talking to people and just getting a feel for where this person was in their mind at the time. And hopefully being able to answer some questions.
Yeah, and it's not black and white. It's subjective, I guess, too. So.
Right. And sometimes there's like the scales, the scales of justice. Sometimes there's a lot of evidence. Like in Kurt Cobain, there's just a lot. This was not a suicide. But in others, it's more subtle. So
Makes sense.
And then you just put that in your report. Like I really can't say, to any degree of, scientific certainty or anything. But, it just, maybe the scales tip slightly either way. But
Looks a little shady. It's probably, if it smells like the skunk, it probably is, right?
Yep.
So, we'll recap the camp before we let you girls get out of here. But, God forbid someone have a sister or a daughter or son or relative, loved one commit suicide. And this was not something, and there she is again. This is not something that everybody, it's like COVID, there's no playbook for this, right? So what are there resources out there? What would you like, now knowing what you've gone through, what would you like for folks to know? Kind of in hindsight, I guess.
There are resources, and I think starting in July, there's going to be like a statewide hotline that people can call. But if it's like, Elyse, she knew she could call us, right? She doesn't need to call a hotline, but
Right.
the hotlines are important.
Yes.
But I think like family and friends and, just kind of like caring and, pushing a little bit. If someone says, I'm fine, just kind of like push a little, just because you care so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes
Like
total
if I had
sense.
to do over again, I would say like, what is really going on? Tell mommy, I love you. I want to know. If you don't feel well, tell me.
Yeah. And
we can't help anyone if they don't open up, right?
I know, but it goes back to what we were talking
I know.
about, that, you don't want to be judged, or you don't want to be made fun of, or you
Right.
don't want to burden others with your issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mean resources like if you lost someone?
Yeah.
Where
I mean,
would you?
all of
Yeah.
that.
I think the biggest thing is just, you are allowed as much time as you need to kind of grieve things, to kind of work through things. There is no timeline for these kinds of things. I think giving yourself grace and space to also do these things. And also, again, I feel this kind of grief can be very, very traumatic. And I think seeking out help, like therapy, is what I would have maybe told myself to do very early on 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I feel like it's helped a lot. And so I recommend to anyone that might be going through maybe something like that, would recommend, getting into therapy, just to kind of work through what this means as soon as you can. So
That makes sense. And I know it's like such a catch-22 because your family, you love them, but now you're all going through the same thing in different ways, and it's like, you sometimes you can't be there for each other because you're not strong yourself at that particular moment. So finding some subjective person to talk to might be a good thing.
And I have found, and Michelle can, confirm or deny, but I have found that Elise's passing is like just completely shattered us, but like really opened us. I feel closer. Like it's almost like I'm constantly wanting to know if Michelle's okay. It's actually, the effect has been, I think it's drawn us closer. What do you think? I mean, we were close before, but it's like, I just really want her to know how worthy she is, how precious, I'm saying, like this kind of thing. And I maybe didn't do a good enough job with Elyse, but I'm going to do a really good job with you.
Yeah. Never would I ever say that in a million years because, and again, Elyse, if you looked at her from the outside looking in, had, perfect parents and perfect life, and she was beautiful and talented. And, you just think, you would have no reason to think otherwise.
Yeah. And I know we came on here to kind of talk about, how her death has kind of made this camp and all kinds of things. But
Yes.
I really, also kind of want to emphasize how the way she lived her life too. I feel like that to me, is much more important than how she died.
Yeah.
I think anyone that knew her knew how kind she was,
Yes.
how she held space for anyone, what a wicked sense of humor she had. So really, that's kind of how I want people to remember her as is, as this wonderful person, and not kind of the way that she chose to leave. So yeah.
Well, I think that what you would say about Elyse is what you saw is what she was. She was just her own worst enemy.
Exactly.
She was all of those great things to everyone else, just not herself.
Interestingly, part of what drove her to be a good runner, and distance runners really have to run through pain.
Oh, yes.
So part of what drove her also was, her made her miserable because she kept driving herself so hard all the time. And yes, she was successful, but at some point you've got to give yourself a break, right?
Yeah.
And she could never do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse,
There
right?
you go. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
I don't have that. I'm like you. I don't have that running through the pain thing.
Yeah,
I don't have the running through anything.
Yeah. Olivia has it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Olivia definitely has it. So
Yeah.
we'll find our own talents
Yes,
somewhere.
exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's head back to the camp, and please refresh everybody. There is the flyer for the camp, and let's talk. There's a QR code there, so you can actually just scan that if you want more information. And the link is in the comments. Thank you, James. He's the best.
Yeah.
So tell everybody the deets once again.
Yeah. So June 13th through the 17th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it'll be at the Jackson City Track on Tropic Street. So, yep. And then there's also a $30 registration fee to be paid at the start of the camp as well, which I think I forgot to mention at the beginning. So
Okay. Well, we didn't assume it was, for free. So what are you hoping people get out of the camp?
Yeah, I guess like conditioning for the cross country season, as well as I think maybe having a newfound love for themselves. Being able to identify, their emotions, as well as, being able to understand that, you have to be kind to yourself as well. Being a student athlete is just one part of you. There are so many
Right.
other parts of you that are also like important and that matter too. So I think that's probably what I would want them to really get out of it.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, you girls, see, you made it. They were nervous, but they made it. I told you it would just be like us talking for a few
This
minutes.
is our first time.
You did
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that we were able to celebrate Elyse as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I
Jennifer.
appreciate you, Jennifer, letting us, just speak freely about her and about this topic, because I mean, it is something that people kind of shy away from,
Sure.
even though I do think it affects a lot of people. So I just I'm very appreciative that you let us come on here and talk about it, because I
Thank you
think
so much.
I think
It's
I
our
think
pleasure.
yeah, I think it just starts a conversation, too. So anyway, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And you girls are welcome back anytime. You come back and see us, and we'll hang and we'll have a good time. But yeah, maybe today check on your loved ones, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Never know. Ask the question. Did we have anything that people needed to know, James, or any questions?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to remind everybody that tomorrow on the show, we're going to have the Apple City Wholesalers and Rio Grande University Community College President Ryan Smith on the show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So he stopped by the studio. We were able to chat with him a little bit about their new agriculture program that they're doing. So that's really cool as well. So we'll talk about cows and stuff. All right. Well, girls, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and best of luck to our sweet Olivia. And we know she'll do great things, and we'll let you know how that comes out this weekend. So have a wonderful day, everyone, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.